You are looking directly at a premium rotomolded YETI Tundra 65. It is incredibly heavy. It is meticulously engineered. It functions as a highly visible status symbol on the back of a truck, and it currently retails for $350 at your local sporting goods store. Sitting exactly one aisle over, bathed in the exact same fluorescent retail lighting, is a standard blow-molded Coleman Extreme 50-quart cooler that retails for $48. And the pragmatic fisherman who confidently walked past the premium display case to buy that $48 box did not just keep $300 securely in his wallet to spend on actual fishing tackle. He walked out with a piece of equipment that will keep his weekend catch perfectly chilled for exactly the same number of days on a sweltering boat deck. Because that angler understands a fundamental mathematical reality about the luxury cooler industry that the brands spending millions on lifestyle marketing are desperately hoping you never figure out. Today, we are going to look at 8 distinct coolers under $100 that are sitting on shelves right now, completely ignored by the majority of consumers. We are going to break down the actual physics of why a cheap plastic box can do the exact same job as a luxury vault if you understand how to use it. And we will reveal the #1 budget cooler on the market, the exact model that offshore charter captains deliberately buy in bulk to throw on their decks, knowing full well it will get trashed, covered in blood, and stepped on by paying clients. To truly understand why you do not need to finance a $300 box just to hold frozen water, you have to look at what a cooler actually is underneath the glossy logo and the tactical rubber latches. At its core, a cooler is just 2 thin walls of molded plastic with polyurethane foam injected directly into the cavity between them. That is the entire secret to the technology. The magic that keeps your fish cold is not in the aggressive branding, and it is certainly not in the heavy-duty stainless steel hinge pins. The thermal magic is entirely within the density and the thickness of the polyurethane foam hidden out of sight. For decades, the industry standard was simple: inexpensive, blow-molded plastic combined with a decent layer of that foam, and it worked flawlessly for every generation of angler in America. Then, the rotomolded manufacturing revolution took over the market, creating a much thicker, entirely seamless outer shell of plastic that is virtually indestructible. It creates a cooler capable of surviving a localized explosion, a direct grizzly bear attack, or repeatedly falling out of a truck moving at highway speeds. But if your only goal is to keep fish perfectly chilled from Saturday morning until Sunday evening, the physical thickness of the outer plastic shell has almost zero impact on the actual thermal retention. What dictates how long your ice lasts is the insulation inside. When you buy premium, you're paying for the indestructible shell, the aggressive aesthetics, the thick rubber gaskets, and the massive lifestyle marketing campaigns. You're also paying for every single stop the product makes, from the overseas factory to the regional distributor, to the glossy end cap display at the massive outdoor retail chain. Every single one of those logistical stops takes a massive, compounded cut of your money. But there is a completely different tier of gear that skips the lifestyle tax entirely, built purely for utility rather than social media presence. Coming in at number 8 on our list is the absolute volume king for the budget-conscious angler, the Rubbermaid DuraChill 58 quart. You can routinely find this cooler sitting on the bottom shelf of big box stores for exactly $50. It looks exactly like the cooler your grandfather would have taken to a family picnic in 1995, completely devoid of aggressive lines or tactical hardware. But what it lacks in visual intimidation, it makes up for with a deceptively thick layer of thermal insulation baked into the walls and a heavy lid that snaps shut with a reassuring, friction-fit click. The central argument for purchasing the DuraChill is pure, unadulterated storage volume for your dollar. You're getting nearly 60 quarts of usable interior space, which is more than enough to hold a legal limit of decent-sized base, a massive pile of crappy, or a full weekend's worth of camping provisions for the price of 3 premium hardbaits. Now, the necessary fair caveat you must accept at this price point is the structural hinge construction. The hinges on the DuraChill are integrated, folded plastic, meaning if you force the lid back too far past its natural stopping point, you will eventually snap them, and there is absolutely no replacing them. But if you're mindful of how you handle the lid, this utilitarian box will easily hold ice for 3 full days in the shade, delivering exactly what a weekend warrior needs without the luxury premium. At number 7, we shift gears to a completely different style of fishing environment with the Engel 19-quart dry box cooler. This unit pushes right up against our absolute budget limit, usually retailing around $80 to $90, depending on the specific colorway. Engel is a legacy brand that actually manufactures high-end rotomolded coolers, but this specific model is a highly specialized injection-molded hybrid that solves a very specific problem for kayak anglers and paddleboarders. It is completely airtight and watertight, utilizing a high-density EVA foam gasket seated directly inside the lid. It fundamentally doubles as a dry box, meaning if you manage to flip your kayak in rough water, your sensitive gear, your electronics, or your live bait isn't sinking to the bottom of the lake. The obvious limitation here is the physical footprint and the maximum ice retention time. With only 19 quarts of capacity, you're realistically keeping a few stocker trout or a single day's worth of frozen bait cold, not hauling home a massive offshore pelagic catch. And because the walls are thinner to maximize interior space in a small profile, you are looking at 2 days of reliable ice at the absolute maximum. But for the mobile kayak angler who requires dual functionality and complete waterproofing for under $100, absolutely nothing else on the market touches it. Number 6 takes us out of the hard-sided market entirely and into the soft cooler category with the Arctic Zone Titan Deep Freeze 30-can model. Priced extremely aggressively, around $50, this is the soft cooler that has been quietly dominating the shore, fishing, wading, and kayak scenes for the past 3 years. Premium soft coolers from the luxury brands will easily run you $250, which is a mathematically absurd amount of money to spend on a fabric bag with a zipper. The Titan Deep Freeze utilizes high-performance, multi-layered insulation coupled with a specialized radiant heat barrier that actively reflects the sun's rays away from your ice. It features a rigid, crush-proof plastic interior liner that is completely leak-proof, making it incredibly easy to pull out and wash down with a hose after a long day of storing bloody cutbait or slimy panfish. The zipper is historically the point of catastrophic failure on almost all soft coolers, but Arctic Zone bypassed this engineering flaw completely by utilizing a patented zipperless, friction-fit lid for the main insulated compartment. The reality check for this product is that it is fundamentally designed as a single-day cooler. It will easily keep ice solid for a full 12 to 18 hours in direct, blistering sunlight, but if you expect it to hold frozen blocks for a 3-day off-grid camping trip, you're going to be severely disappointed. For the highly mobile angler who walks the riverbanks or wades the shallow flats, it is the absolute perfect ergonomic solution. Hitting the middle of the pack at number 5 is a product with a massive footprint, the Coleman 100-quart Marine Cooler. You can frequently find this white plastic behemoth on sale for around $80 to $90 at major marine supply and big box retail stores. When you are pushing offshore, or when you are actively targeting massive species like flathead catfish, striped bass, or king mackerel, you require sheer physical length and internal volume above all else. A high-end rotomolded cooler in the 100-quart class will cost you upwards of $500 and weigh so much when completely empty that you practically need 2 grown men just to load it into the bed of a truck. This specific Coleman model gives you the exact capacity to lay a massive 30-inch fish completely flat without bending its tail, and it weighs a fraction of the premium luxury brands. It is manufactured using UV-reflective white plastic, designed specifically to sit completely exposed on the fiberglass deck of a center console boat under the scorching sun without absorbing ambient heat. To aggressively keep production costs down and maintain a low overall weight, the lid is essentially hollow, meaning your primary thermal heat loss is going to happen from the top down. But if you implement a simple technique, like throwing a thick, wet towel completely over the top of it while on the boat deck, you can easily stretch the ice retention to 3 or 4 days, giving you the massive hauling capacity of a commercial boat at a weekend hobbyist budget. Number 4 is the absolute undisputed staple of the inshore fishing community, the Igloo Marine Ultra 54 quart. Sitting incredibly comfortably right around the $50 mark, this is the exact rectangular white cooler you see securely strapped to the leaning post of almost every skiff and center console from the Florida Keys to the Texas coast. There is a very specific mathematical reason this exact model has survived in the highly competitive marine market for decades, while much flashier, heavily marketed designs have come and quietly gone. It is the absolute perfect geometric balance for limited boat storage. It fits flawlessly under a standard aluminum casting platform, doubles as a remarkably sturdy elevated casting seat when you need to sight fish, and has dedicated UV inhibitors baked directly into the plastic matrix to prevent it from turning dangerously brittle and yellowing in the relentless sun. The calculated trade-off for this price is the factory hardware. The standard plastic hinges and the rudimentary plastic snap latch are absolutely going to break eventually if you use this cooler hard every single weekend in the salt. But a complete set of upgraded replacement hardware costs about $10, and even if you're forced to replace the hinges every 2 years, you will still never come close to approaching the initial cost of a single premium rotomolded cooler. Entering the top 3, we have the specific cooler that single-handedly disrupted the entire rotomolded industry, the Lifetime 55-quart high-performance cooler. This heavily engineered box aggressively stalks the $99 price point, occasionally dipping even lower during major seasonal retail sales. The engineers at Lifetime looked at the heavy, incredibly expensive rotomolding process and asked if they could achieve the exact same structural rigidity and thermal performance using a highly advanced blow molding technique. The answer they delivered to the market was a definitive and resounding yes. This cooler is officially certified by the Interagency Grizzly Bear Committee as bear resistant, carrying the exact same structural rating as a YETI. It features heavy-duty, cam-style rubber latches that physically pull the lid down tight against a commercial-grade, continuous rubber gasket, creating a true, undeniable airtight seal. In highly controlled, side-by-side, head-to-head testing conducted by independent gear reviewers like Outdoor Gear Lab, the Lifetime cooler actually maintained solid ice for 5 to 6 full days, mathematically matching and in some ambient conditions slightly beating the $300 luxury competition. It successfully delivers 95% of the premium experience for less than a third of the financial cost. The honest caveat you have to accept is that the exterior plastic finish is not as perfectly smooth as a rotomolded box, and the rubber gasket channel can sometimes be slightly uneven right off the factory line, requiring a quick adjustment. It fundamentally lacks the premium polish, but structurally and thermally, it is an absolute beast of a cooler that makes buying a more expensive model incredibly hard to mathematically justify. At number 2, we have the definitive cooler for the angler who is exceptionally hard on their gear. The Igloo BMX 52 quart. Priced exactly at our $99 limit. This piece of equipment looks like it was designed by a tactical military contractor rather than a fishing company. It features an incredibly aggressive blow-molded construction process with a heavily reinforced base and dedicated heavy-duty skid pads designed to take a beating on concrete boat ramps. The flexible T-latches are constructed from thick, durable rubber, and the oversized rear hinges are structurally reinforced with solid stainless steel rods. Crucially, it is significantly lighter than a comparable rotomolded cooler of the exact same size, making it vastly easier for a solo angler to carry down a steep, rocky embankment to reach the river. The extra thick foam walls and the fully insulated lid consistently deliver a legitimate 4 to 5 days of ice retention in real-world summer conditions. Because of the aggressively molded exterior walls and the heavily reinforced structural corners, the usable interior space is slightly smaller and far more awkwardly shaped than a standard, perfectly rectangular cooler of the same quart rating. You inevitably lose a small amount of packing efficiency when trying to fit long fish, but you gain an incredible amount of rugged durability that aggressively rivals coolers 3 times its price point. And finally, the #1 budget cooler on the market, the absolute undisputed king of thermal value for the everyday fisherman, the Coleman Extreme 50 quart. Before I tell you the current retail price, I want to read the structural specifications very slowly so you understand exactly what you are getting. Thermozone polyurethane insulation completely filling the main walls and, critically, fully injected into the lid. A specialized deep channel drain system that empties completely without ever requiring you to physically tilt a heavy, ice-filled box. A heavily reinforced lid officially rated to support 250 pounds, effectively acting as a permanent casting deck or a reliable camp seat. And most importantly, proven, independently verified 5-day ice retention in 90-degree ambient heat. Now, prepare yourself for the price. You can buy this cooler right now, brand new, for $48. This is the exact cooler that massive charter fleets quietly use as reliable backups when the clients aren't looking. This is the exact cooler that professional tournament anglers deliberately keep in the back of their trucks while their sponsors' luxury coolers sit completely empty on the boat for the cameras. It does not look tactical. It completely lacks heavy rubber latches, and it will absolutely not survive an attack from